The Prime Minister of Iraq promising to push ISIS out of that country by the end of 2016. The leader addressing the nation last night after Iraqi forces declared a major victory in their battle against the Islamic State, recapturing most of the key city of Ramadi, which the terror group has held since May. Al-Abadi announcing troops will now concentrate their efforts on the city of Mosul. For more, let's bring in Fox News military analyst Matthew Graham. Always good to see you, Matt. Is this significant in terms of trying to take back Mosul at this point?
Absolutely. Every little piece is significant. You know, ISIS's stretch almost runs from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. It's in an area the size of about the state of Oregon, with about 8 million people. So any little piece helps. Every step along the way is going to liberate Iraq even more.
But what about, the Wall Street Journal has a terrific editorial on this. There are a number of challenges ahead in terms of making sure that the non-radical Sunni population remains loyal and keeps pushing in terms of the Sunni support in the military and of the regional areas, the local Sunni tribes. But also, until ISIS is defeated in Syria, they will still have a great deal of power.
Well, absolutely. Until ISIS is defeated globally, they will still have power. ISIS is interesting from a standpoint that it's not a political state, it's a religious state. So what they're trying to build within the caliphate extends globally. So whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in the refugee camps in Jordan, whether it's in France or here in the United States, ISIS is currently running their social campaign of almost a crowdfunding terrorism group. So regardless of where you live in the world, as you believe the way they believe, they have power.
Matt, Scott Brown, first of all, what took them so long? Number one. Number two, do you think there's an ebb and flow to what's happening in that ISIS said, you know what, we're not going to do well here. We got to kind of step back. We'll give it to them. We're going to regroup, and then we'll move our efforts in another area. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, good morning, Senator. What took them so long is the fact that we've been engaged in this for over 1,000 years. So we see this from a Western standpoint as a series of small acts. We've almost forgotten what happened prior to Christmas because everybody opened up presents, but this war has been going on for over 1,000 years. As we start to whittle away at what ISIS is every piece becomes significant in that. So as we take a 70% back from Ramadi, and as we start to drive towards Mosul, and as we start to cut off that area in Syria and up towards Turkey, every little aspect of this is going to matter. But it's a long war.
And how do you think this affects the political landscape in the Republican side in particular, with a lot of the efforts by Trump and others to say, listen, terrorism is the #1 issue? And how do you think this temporary victory, or victory that may be temporary, affects that discussion?
Well, I think that discussion goes beyond the next 4 years. I think we need to have a strategy that attacks this threat at its core, which its core is an ideological, religious base. And how do you begin to eradicate that when everything is done on a surface level and not on a core belief level?
Matt, this is Jo Ling Kent. I was just wondering, do you think Ramadi is a good model for Mosul, since it's such a different situation in Mosul? And do you think there's a chance that this is the Islamic State's attempt at distracting and allowing Ramadi to fall in, to bring people and to bring fighters into Mosul and potentially result in a defeat there?
Well, within a guerrilla type of a warfare, we can't really look to templates because everything changes. It matters where buildings are, where bridges are, where people congregate, where pockets of resistance happen, where neighborhoods and collective groups meet. So in the idea of a principle, yes, it can be a model, but tactically, we have to look at every situation as a unique situation, and that's why these types of protracted battles are so difficult, because they are a true insurgency.
You know, Dagan, it's interesting when we talk about what's happening in Iraq right now. many people believe, especially the veterans who fought very hard to keep that terrain and ultimately claim a victory there. Had we kept a transition force, a training force there, and done the status of forces agreement, it's more than likely we wouldn't be trying to recapture these areas, and that's a real thorn in the veteran side who served there.
Former Navy SEALs have been Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, who were instrumental in retaking Ramadi, have been on this program very often. Matt, one last thing. It is a sign of weakness, though, do you think, and you can disagree with me, that we got a message from ISIS, from the Islamic State leader al-Baghdadi, that was released over the weekend, because, again, it is the recruiting cry of the Islamic State is victory and continued victory. And the fact that they have lost Ramadi, does it weaken their recruiting at this point?
I do agree with you. It does weaken it a little bit, but what they're doing from a non-nation state standpoint is the types of recruitment that they're doing don't fit with what we believe as a traditional recruitment into the military. So while we see it as a loss, while losing the city of Ramadi is a victory for us and a partial loss for them, again, their time frame for reestablishing the caliphate is extended beyond what we're perceiving it. We're looking at it as a presidential issue. Can we fix it before 2016? Can we fix it before 2020? And in the 1,000 years, part of their recruiting strategy is to take that longer look and say, this is just a hiccup along their path.
Great insight as always. Matthew Graham, thank you so much. Happy New Year if we don't see you before
Megan.
then. Take care.
Absolutely, you too.